or how your agency is ready to give the president a $230 million payday, which is unconstitutional. The Constitution is clear. The president shall not receive any payment except his salary while in office. The fact of the matter is that you will be remembered as one of the worst attorney generals in history, an attorney general who has prioritized obstruction over justice, corruption over the law, fealty to the president over loyalty to the Constitution. And Mr. Chairman, I will yield.
Jasmine Crockett, a 43-year-old young congresswoman from Texas, stood up and was ready to drop the bomb in her first sentence. Ms. Bondi, now listen to me very carefully. You did not ignore the Epstein files as Florida's prosecutor. You actively buried them. Today, here, I will show you these documents. Pam Bondi, the former Florida Attorney General and new nominee for Attorney General, froze at the table in the face of these remarks. Crockett's voice was clear, sharp, and angry. He had very thick files in his hand, and inside that file there was everything Bondi had kept for years. The trial would heat up, voices would be raised, there would be screams. Crockett would completely destroy Bondi. Watch this video until the end, because in the next few minutes, you'll see how a former criminal lawyer cornered a politician on the Epstein files, and how an explosive hearing unfolded. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe now and turn on notifications, because what happened in Congress today was not just an inquiry. This was a battle between two strong women, between truth and lies. First, let's get to know the characters. Jasmine Crockett, 43 years old, Democratic Congresswoman from Texas's 30th District. But she's not just a politician. He was a criminal defense attorney in Dallas for more than 10 years. He worked in the courts, he made a defense, he clashed with the prosecutors, and he learned one thing. In court, the truth always wins. If you ask the right questions, if you show the right documents. And today, Crockett would use all his courtroom experience against Bondi. Pam Bondi, 59 years old, former prosecutor of Florida. She served for 8 years. She held various roles in the Trump administration, and now a nominee for Attorney General. But Bondi had a problem: the Epstein files. As a Florida prosecutor, she received 23 complaints about Epstein. In 17 of them, her team said, investigate, but Bondi opened none of them, and she got a $5,000 donation from Trump. Here is Crockett's target, those 23 files, those 17 proposals. 1:47 p.m. Crockett walked up to the podium. He slammed his file on the table. The sound echoed in the hall. Bondi flinched. Crockett started speaking without any introduction or courtesy. Miss Bondi, as Florida's Attorney General from 2013 to 2016, how many complaints did you receive about Epstein? Bondi leaned forward. A few complaints came in, but 23, Crockett shouted. From the very first word, his voice was loud. 23 complaints about Epstein, fraud, sexual abuse, human trafficking, 23 cases. Bondi tried to speak. Congressman, every complaint, and how many of those did you open an investigation on? Crockett interrupted. How many? Bondi remained silent. Crockett replied, 0. You didn't investigate any of the 23 complaints. But what did your team say? He pulled a document from the file. Here are the internal evaluation reports from the Florida State Attorney's Office. In 17 cases, your team wrote investigation recommended. 17 files. Your team said to open it, but you didn't open it. Why? Bondi tried to speak. Resources are limited. Priorities. Lies. Crockett raised his voice even more. You're lying. At the same time, you opened investigations in much smaller cases unrelated to Trump, but you didn't open one for Epstein because Trump was there. Bondi stood up. Congresswoman, this accusation is unacceptable. Crockett also stood up. Two women face each other. Is it unacceptable? Then explain it. He held up a copy of a $5,000 check from the Trump campaign to you before closing the Epstein files. This is unacceptable. The president struck the gavel. Order. Both sides sit down. But no one was sitting down. Crockett continued. You took that money. Then you closed 23 cases. And now you are telling me unacceptable? Bondi pointed her finger at Crockett. I am fulfilling my duty as a Florida prosecutor. You didn't do your job, Crockett shouted. Your duty was to protect the victims, but you protected Trump. The president hit the gavel again, harder. Congresswoman Crockett, sit down. Miss Bondi, sit down. Now. The two women slowly sat down, but the tension hung in the air. Crockett took a deep breath. Then he continued, a bit calmer but just as sharp. Miss Bondi, I will read you an email from your time in Florida. He opened the email. March 2016, from your office president to you. Subject, Trump University and Epstein complaints. Now I need to pause here, because Crockett hasn't shown the most damning document yet. That email shows how Bondi killed the Epstein files for Trump, and now Crockett will read it.
If you've watched this video up to this point, please hit the like button, and write in the comments, what do you think is written in that email? What did Bondi say? Leave your guesses, because now Crockett is going to read the bomb email. Crockett read the email slowly. The email says, Ms. Bondi, the Epstein files have piled up. The team is recommending an investigation for 17 of them, but the Trump connection raises concerns. It is known that Trump had a past relationship with Epstein. If we open an investigation, Trump's name might come up. The media can link this issue to Trump. What should we do? Crockett raised his head. And your response on the same day, let's wait for now. There are talks with the Trump campaign. Then we will decide. Crockett slammed the email on the table. Meetings with the Trump campaign. So you linked the decision to investigate to the Trump campaign. Bondi tried to speak. This email has been taken out of context. Which context? Crockett interrupted. Your office chief said the Trump connection is a concern. You said there are discussions with the Trump campaign. In what context is this normal? Crockett pulled out another email. And here is the email from a week later. From your campaign advisor to you. Ms. Bondi, the Trump campaign wants to make a donation, $5,000. If the Epstein issue becomes clear, donations may come in. Crockett stopped. He looked into the living room. If the Epstein issue is clarified, so if you close the Epstein files, a pardon will come. Bondi's face turned bright red. Congressman, this is slander. It's not slander. Crockett raised the emails in the air. The emails from your office, the correspondence of your people, and the timeline is clear. Crockett counted on his fingers. March, team said open an investigation. April, you said there are discussions with the Trump campaign. May, it was said that if the Epstein issue is clarified, donations may come in. June, you closed the Epstein files. September, a $5,000 donation came in. Crockett stood up. This is bribery. Open bribery. You closed the Epstein files. You took money from Trump. Bondi also jumped to her feet. I never took a bribe. This is a legal campaign donation. Crockett laughed. A bitter smile. Legal? Is the donation that came after closing the Epstein files legal? The president has struck the gavel. Order. Final warning. But Crockett continued. Ms. Bondi, under Florida law, it is corruption if a public official benefits in a matter that affects their official duties. You closed the Epstein files. You took money from Trump. This is corruption. Bondi slammed the table. Prove it. Emails are not evidence. Crockett smiled. I will prove it. He opened the last file. This is the donation records of the Florida Prosecutor's Office. Between 2013 and 2016, all the campaign donations you received showed the records. You received a total of 247 donations. Except for Trump's, no file was closed on the donor before the donation. Only with Trump. Only in the Epstein files. Just that 5,000. Crockett looked at Bondi. Out of 247 donations, 246 are normal. One is different. Trump's. Because before Trump, you closed the Epstein files. This is not a coincidence. This is a bribe. If you came here from this video, share it with your friends. Because look at what Crockett did.
He showed the emails, he set up the timeline, he proved that only Trump's donation out of 247 was private. Bondi could not defend herself. Bondi sat down. He bowed his head. Crockett continued. Ms. Bondi, I was a criminal defense attorney in Dallas for 10 years. I have seen bribery cases, and I know what bribery looks like. An official duty is performed, money comes in, the case is closed, just like you did. Crockett said his last words. And now you want to be the Attorney General. You want to deliver justice, but when you were a prosecutor in Florida, you sold justice to Trump for $5,000. You closed the Epstein files. 23 complaints, 17 team proposals, all of them are rubbish because Trump paid. Crockett closed the file. I will submit these documents, these emails, these records to the Senate Judiciary Committee, and they will decide, is Pam Bondi qualified to be Attorney General, or is what she did in Florida disqualifying? He paused. My opinion, he disqualifies, because you sold justice for $5,000. Crockett sat down. The living room was silent. Bondi couldn't lift his head. The explosive trial was over. Two women had faced each other. Voices had been raised. Accusations had been flying. And in the end, Crockett had won. With documents, with emails, with a timeline, showing that 246 out of 247 donations were normal, and one was a bribe.